Hey everybody, welcome to the Going Analog Podcast, the podcast in which board gamers come and feature a game and we talk about some topic. And this is a continuation of our two-player game episode that we just did 2 weeks ago. So this is part 2. If you want to tune in, we've got a lot more really fun two-player games to talk about. And joining us again, because we haven't changed clothes, it's the same guest here. It's Grant Lyon.
Yeah.
Yay.
They can't get rid of me.
Yes. One funny thing I forgot to mention last episode too, Grant very kindly seated himself at the end. We normally put our guest in the middle, but our guest here is quite loud today.
I have a booming voice.
So we had to move him away from the microphone a little bit.
Yeah, we're so subtle and quiet and everything. But
anyway. The back of the room.
So tell people what Grant does.
Grant recommends really fantastic games on his channel, Grant's Games Rec. So if you check on Instagram, on TikTok, on all the social medias, on YouTube, and he has a huge, fantastic series for 2025, his top 10 games of 10 different categories. So whatever you're looking for, he has a recommendation for you. So check it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Too many games.
And so we're going to talk about more. We're going to dive in and feature a game. So before we get into two players. So our feature game this time is Mistborn.
Mistborn, the deck building game. So our game pick for this episode is Mistborn, the deck building game. You can see the box here if you're watching on video. This is based on the Brandon Sanderson book series, the Mistborn books. The first one being The Final Empire, which is a weird name for the first book of a trilogy. But the basic premise of Mistborn is that this is a world where some people are born with these more magical powers where they can ingest certain metals and then be able to do certain powers, like push off of metals, pull in metals. So, for example, a quick example of that is like, I might carry a bag of coins, cheap coins, that I could use as weapons because I could push them at high speeds and use them as like projectiles to hit people with. Or you could bounce off of metals and start using them to kind of fly around the world. So it's this magical fantasy world on which this game is based on. So the designer here, this is from Brotherwise Games. This is a review copy that they sent us. We have talked briefly about this game before because we had the designer, John D. Clare, on the show just a few episodes ago. And the reason I wanted to play this game was first, I listened to an audiobook of the first book and I'm like, I love this world and that would make for a cool game. But also, I was actually playing one of my favorite deck building games, Shards of Infinity, with John D. Clare. He also loves that game. And he said that game was a big influence on a lot of what Mistborn does. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I need to play Mistborn then because I love Shards of Infinity. And so the basic premise is deck building, and cards are going to interact with each other. There's different sort of factions of cards that will have different characteristics, so a lot of like what you might have seen before in other games like Ascension or Shards of Infinity, but we're all Mistborn. So it's what I described earlier about how certain people have affinity towards certain metals. Mistborn are the most powerful of those groups they can do all metals. So you also have this board that you start upgrading. Like in the beginning, you can only burn maybe one metal, and they're represented by these discs. So you have a pewter disc, a tin disc, a copper disc, and so on. And they all will trigger different cards that make the certain cards like more powerful. It's like, okay, now I could do an extra attack, or I could go on this quest. There's 3 quests in each game that you could advance on. So you have to decide when to burn the metals, but as the game progresses, you get more powerful. Like now I could burn 2 metals. Now I could burn 3 metals. You could do more than that. I forgot what the term is called in this world, but you're like, I'm going to go extra and then take the flare. I think flare is the first one and burn is the second one. But in any case, you can like overclock a metal. It's like the easy way to explain it. And then take that. Now that disc is out of play until you can figure out how to get that back into play. So there's all these combinations, but you have to decide because you're resource limited in terms of what combination you can do. But on top of that, the cards themselves also can provide metals. So you could say, I'm not going to use the card for its normal effect, but I'm going to use it for a metal to power up another card. So that makes like every hand, you're like, how do I maximize what am I playing with here?
And it really rewards good deck building because, if you're really building towards certain metals, you want to acquire those cards that are really going to sync up really well. It can be really, really rewarding.
Yeah. And then there is this master medal that's like the most powerful medal that's really hard to get. But there's like one card that if you could like burn this type of medal, you could win, just auto win, but it's very hard to do. And what I also like is that, like I mentioned, there's 3 different quests. There's random quests that are drawn for each game. And then everyone has a little cube on these quest trackers, and you're trying to get to the top first. If you could win all 3 quests before anyone else, you can also win. So you could defeat everybody or win all the quests. But every game I play so far is always the quests that end up winning, because you could combo so much to be like, I move 4 steps on this one, I move this on this one. And they also give you rewards along the way. They also give you rewards if you're the first one to the top. So they're very, the game really encourages you to go on these quests. It's a big part of this game. And then, so that's how I've seen every victory won so far. But yeah, really great, solid deck building. If you like Shards of Infinity, or you like Ascension, or Star Realms, if you like that kind of brand of deck building, definitely check out Mistborn, because it's just, this metal system is like really cool. Even if you don't know the world and you're not familiar with the fiction, like you didn't read the book, but you like the game too as well. So
I like a good deck builder. It's a good deck builder.
Yeah, it's a really solid game. The only thing I would complain about is that the card quality is not the best. I wish they were, it's like a good enough game that I'm like, I wish they put in like better quality cards, like thicker card stock. Or
Time to actually sleeve these cards.
Maybe that is, I don't tend to sleeve a lot of games, but maybe this is one that would sleeve to make it, to help them a little bit. Yeah, the card quality is not the best. And I do wish that the metal token, or the tokens that represent metal, were actually metal instead of cardboard. I know this is the first game.
So bougie.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the game does well enough that they're like, we'll make a nicer version, or a deluxe version, or a second edition that improves upon these things. I have no idea how well this game is doing sales wise, but I hope it does well enough that we get more Mistborn, because it's also, it deserves an expansion too. I think it's good enough that more content would be really great.
I really liked the first time we played, Shu just sort of like stormed to victory, and I was very upset. So I was like, rematch immediately, and it was like almost midnight, but we played another
she's like,
game.
Rematch now. I want my. I'm like, what? Where should go to bed? And she's like, redeal.
So that's how much I liked it.
This is one that has been on my want to play list for like over a year, because I think this is a 2024 game.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
And so I've wanted to play it since it came. No, I just mean, but it's been on my want to play list for a while. I just haven't had a chance to do it. So now I need to force you guys to play it with me.
Sure.
Definitely happy to play it. Yeah, it's a really cool game.
Yeah.
And what game did you bring for us?
Yes, get these out of the way. My game pick of the episode is How to Save a World from Burnt Island Games. One of my favorite mechanisms in games is bag building. And this is an interesting game because it's one of the few sort of communal bag building games. And that's a little reductive because bag building is just one small element of the game, but it is a thing that makes the game feel unique. There are 3 different sort of win conditions, end game conditions. There is an asteroid that is coming at our planet, and we are either going to fire a laser at it and break it up, we are going to build a shield to deflect it, or failing both of those 2 things, we're going to evacuate as many people as we can. And so throughout the game, you are working on those 3 different projects and adding cubes to the bag that represent those 3 different projects. At the end of the game, you will just be pulling cubes from the bag and seeing which one of those things actually helps save our planet. It is how to save a world. So, but you just don't know. So if Christina and Shu are working a ton on the top project, that may be more likely to happen because they're throwing in a bunch of cubes into the bag. Whereas I'm going, oh no, I'm going to gamble on that not being enough. And then one of these later things being the thing that wins the game. Because if you, depending on which of those things actually happens, triggers at the end of the game, whoever is furthest on these tracks is going to score the most points and likely win the game.
Because they're the savior of the world.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah. So you're gambling on which of the things you think is actually going to end the game. And then beyond that, there is a worker placement aspect, a sort of small deck building game where you are buying cards, adding them to your deck, getting you more special abilities. So it's a highly strategic game. This is a game that plays in, 90 minutes to 2 hours, something like that. There's a decent amount going on. But I think that communal bag building aspect and you don't know what's going to trigger at the end of the game is one of the things that makes this game feel very unique.
I really, really liked the strategy of it too, because there are like two major areas where you're on the planet doing projects or you're up on the like moon research space station. And so depending on where your three workers are, you're sort of in that area, and you'd have to pay extra resources if you need to move your workers around. So you have to balance that aspect. Have I planned ahead for that? Things will move your workers automatically, and you have to like deal with that situation. And the card aspect I thought was really weird because Shu taught it, and I was like, wait, what? How does this work? But it was really neat because you have to start with some cards. You could buy more cards, and the more cards you have, the more expensive it is. But you can just play them when you want, and you get them all back for the next round. And so you can like sync these up, make them really synergize really well, and you know exactly what's going to come up because it's totally up to you when you play these cards. So I really like that strategy aspect of it too.
Yeah, this game, I love explaining it to people or kind of introducing it to people and just like, here's the concept. So literally we had one game day where we had two tables, and then I think you were going to teach the treasure ship of Zhenhe, and I was going to teach how to save a world. And then we had some friends who were like deciding which table they were going to sit at. And I'm like, there's zero way anyone's going to find your game more interesting than this one.
So rude.
Because yours is very brown, kind of Euro strategy looking.
Some people like sailing.
This game was colorful, and I'm like, yeah, we're scientists on the moon, and we're trying to prevent this asteroid from crashing into the world, and there's all these animals that we're trying to save, and like, which one do you want to play? So How to Save the World definitely won. So thematically, it's really cool. Even on the board, there's this big...
People had fun at my table.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that game's all fun, but like the elevator pitch, one's a lot more cooler than the other. And even the comet or the asteroid that's represented is this giant cardboard piece that spills off of the board.
And you literally see it moving each round towards your planet.
But its speed is undetermined, so that adds a lot of fun uncertainty to it.
Yeah, because it might go faster sometimes because you're drawing black cubes from the bag at the end of each round. So you're not sure. I also warn my friends because it's like, this is a Euro-style strategy game, medium heavy, not too complicated, but I'm like, you have to understand it gets a little unpredictable at the end, and you have to accept that. Because when you were teaching it, you had a funny story about like you running it at our house. Like, you were carrying it around for you for like.
Yeah, I had brought this game. All of November, I was on the road. I was like traveling for 3.5 weeks straight. And I had this game with me that entire 3.5 weeks and never actually played it. So when I came over to a game day with them and other people at the beginning of December, I was like, I'm putting this on the table. I'm playing this. I don't care who else joins me. Somebody's going to join me, and we're playing this game because I've been carrying this around for a month, and I want to play this stupid game.
And it happened.
Yes. And everybody really liked it. So you know.
Yeah, so we were deciding between Christine and me who's going to sit at your table because the other one would teach a game at the other table, and then you were like, I'm like, Grant, both of us, who of us would like it better? And you said maybe Shu slightly more because of this chaos at the end, where Christina's like very strategic, mathy, will think things through and what's the most optimal move. Because at the end, you don't know which one that you've invested in will win. You don't know when exactly the asteroid. There's turns where like the asteroid could crash this round, or it might be next round. Yeah. You don't know. So you have to
play well enough that it doesn't matter if your strategy didn't win. And you win anyway. So there are ways. And you don't have to bet on the winning strategy. Sure. So
was that fair to say? I was like, I think you both would like it, but I think Shu maybe slightly more. Was that fair to say?
I really liked it. So I don't know. I don't know. You played it twice. I've only played it once.
I played 3 times.
Oh, 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay, then
so
I guess
you didn't mind the chaotic ending?
Not because there are ways to invest your actions and points to still get points. Even if, like, I invested heavily in the shield and it was so close to working and it didn't, but I still ended up winning because I made sure that I had point cards that I was working through. So, Yeah,
she'll figure out a way to win.
That is How to Save a World.
So on to 2-player games, and Grant has a lot for us today. So let's start with you.
There were a lot of 2-player games that came out in 20. I think I played. I was counting, and I think I played something like 40 2-player only games that came out in 2025, something like that, 35, 40. There's a lot, and there were a lot of good ones. So the first one I'm going to talk about today is the game Everdell Duo. So this is obviously set in the same world as Everdell, the sort of cozy critter world of Everdell. I feel like Everdell is one of the games that sort of started our current cozy critter trend. I think cozy games are very in right now. It's one of the more sort of popular genres, and I think these guys, I think the original game of Everdell came out in like 2018.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So the way I think of this game is it's almost like faster Everdell. So I don't, if you have Everdell, and Everdell plays pretty well at 2 players, but it still takes, 90 minutes, 2 hours, something like that. So I don't know that this replaces it in the sense that if you love playing Everdell at 2 players, I'm not going to say, oh, you get rid of it and get this one. I don't think that's this. But this gives you the feeling of Everdell in 30 to 40 minutes. Okay. So for me, this one's going to hit the table more often just because, it still gives me that sort of satisfying card combo feeling like I'm getting, all these fun different critters that are working and synergistic together and stuff like that. I also think that this version of the game has less analysis paralysis.
Okay.
There are times in Everdell where there are a bunch of cards out here and I'm like, I got to think through every one that I can buy right now and stuff like that. Whereas in this one, you are moving these tokens along these rows of cards and only the cards that are around the token are available to you.
Okay.
So it cuts down the amount of cards that are available at any moment for you and really helps me with that analysis paralysis where I'm like, I can't even get to that card. So I don't even need to think about it right now. I just need to focus on these ones here. I will say there is both a competitive version of this game and a sort of cooperative campaign version. I've played the competitive version a bunch of times. I'm not really that interested in the cooperative version. And I haven't always heard the best things about the cooperative version. I've heard very good things from not only myself, but other people about the competitive version. So I am just sort of thinking about it in that fashion. The cooperative version is it's a campaign to just see how well we do. We're not fighting bosses and we're not leveling up that much. And that's not
what
the type of, that's not the type of cooperative game I want to play. So I'm just thinking about this in the competitive realm. Yeah.
It's adorable as usual.
Yes.
So
yeah. Faster version of Everdell.
There's so many Everdell products because even after we're done recording, you're going to show us another one.
That is true. Yeah. I have Everdell Silver Frost.
Yeah.
Forever. Everdell forever.
Yeah, it's gotten so popular.
Yeah. And this one, there was My Little Everdell, which I liked, and that felt like a separate game than Everdell. This feels like a very similar game, just a faster version of the game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
And so
that's Everdell Duo.
Everdell Duo. Next we have Kinfire Delve.
This is Kinfire Delve. This actually... So the way we got this game was actually Jane Hofecker, who's the CEO
a previous guest
of An Incredible Dream. She was over at our place to record a podcast a few episodes ago as well. And she brought these as sort of she even said, no obligation to cover. I just wanted to give you these, as for welcoming me into your home today. And she gave us these copies of Kinfire Delve. So Kinfire is this world that Incredible Dream has built. There's 3 games currently. There's Kinfire Console, which we've covered before. It's a worker placement competitive strategy board game. There's Kinfire Chronicles, which one of our previous guests talked about as his game pick. Eric Slauson, game designer, was his game pick. He loves the big box cooperative campaign game. And I've heard so many good things. I'm like, I think I kind of want to play it too now, even though we don't play a lot of campaign games. So maybe that's one on the list that
Sure, one day.
But Kinfire Delve is a 2-player. You can play more by combining sets, but it's essentially one of these boxes. There's 3 boxes that you see here. 1 to 2 players. One-time dungeon delve in this Kinfire world where you're cooperatively working against all these different challenges. So there's Kinfire Delve, Vainglory's Grotto, this one's Scorn's Stockade, and Callus's Lab. They're all names of like different bosses at the bottom of these wells. So you travel down these wells.
It's represented by a deck of cards.
Yeah, just a deck of cards. And then so around the middle card, you see the boss, but there's 4 different challenges. Some are combat oriented, some are traps, some are obstacles, and so on. And then you have different cards in your hand that could take on those challenges. So like if I had red cards, they have a value on it. And it's like, okay, this challenge on this board is like, we're like 9 difficulty. So we have to collectively, between me and Christina, get to 9 worth of, I don't know what the value is, but we have to get 9 to defeat
competency of some sort.
Damn it.
So I might play a card worth 4 in red.
And I could boost it a little bit.
And she could boost it with the bottom of her cards that have like +1. So it's like
+2 or
all
something.
right. So let's say we got 5 out of 9. We actually failed that challenge, but the 5 stays there.
There is a dice rolling aspect too.
Oh, yeah. And then you roll some dice that might add a few more symbols as well.
Sure.
So you have a pass and failure on the cards. If you fail, your progress stays and then you just have to try again another turn, but you might lose health. You only have 10 health between the 2 of you for the entire game. So it's very scary. But if you win, a lot of the rewards might be like you trigger your lantern power, which is really powerful, or get to turn it on. Or more commonly, you get to discard cards from this well deck to
So you go deeper
basically
and
it's like
quickly.
now we're going more quickly and we're skipping a lot of cards. When you get to the end, you have a big boss fight, and then the boss has some lieutenants that you have to get through as well. But that's how the game plays. But what do you think?
It's really, really cool. I mean, obviously, everything that Untitled Dream does is like really great production. The art is amazing. The cards are like really, really high quality. And what I really liked about it is that for each of these situations, there are different, what are the protagonists called that we're playing? They're like different characters. They're called
We're seekers.
Seekers.
We are seekers.
Yeah, we're playing the seekers. And then we have incredibly asynchronous, asymmetrical abilities. So every time you're playing one of these new situations, you have new characters and you're figuring them out, solving that puzzle to make them more effective and trying to deal with these challenge cards and stuff. So I really, really liked it. I've only played Vainglory's Grotto. We're not usually big co-op fans, but I had a really good time with that one, and we did not win. And I'd like to win sometime.
Yeah.
But yes.
And I've played multiple of these boxes, and one of the things I like a lot about it is there's a lot of replayability in the game because, as Shu mentioned, you are delving down into the deck. And one of the rewards for accomplishing these, beating these different cards or characters is that you're just simply discarding cards off of the top of the deck. So every time you play the game, you're going to see a different set of cards because you're constantly discarding cards without looking at them. And the next time you play it, you're going to see a different set of cards. So even though it's just one deck of cards, it's always going to feel different. It's always going to feel
really clever.
Unique. Yeah. I like that system a lot. And, I think sometimes people complain about cooperative games. They're like, yeah, it's pretty easy. Like this really is one that's like, I feel like I've won half of the times I've played it. And
Which
so
is really hard to get.
Yeah, like it's that thing where it's like, we gotta be talking. We need to be figuring it out together and actually cooperating to win this cooperative game, which I like a lot about it too. That it feels like a real challenge, which makes it feel rewarding when you actually win a game. Like we won the game we played on the 2-player day we did and stuff, and it felt really good. You're like, yeah, man, like that was awesome when you did this. Remember when I did, that sort of stuff. It gives those moments where you're like, yeah, remember when we did that together? Like that was great.
Yeah, it has a climactic ending, right? If you win, or an upsetting ending if you lose.
We were very close.
Yeah. So I like it's not like, how many points did you get? Here's the scoring scale. We did great. Do better next time. Sort of things. I really don't like that kind of way. I just like there's one clear ending and one goal to get to that end.
And you throw everything into that final fight. And, you're talking about replayability. Even the boss, there's like 3 different versions of the boss. So you by chance would
in each box, there's
in every box.
So each box has its own like 3 variants of the boss.
So even though it's the same box, supposedly the same scenario, it will play out completely differently.
Yeah.
So
I played all 3 now, and every time I've won 2, I've lost 1. But when I win, it's like by the skin of your teeth. It's never like, oh, that was easy. It was like, oh man, we had 1 health. We easily could have lost. Or easily could have won, or not easily, but it was just like, it was a very exciting end. I'm like, man, it's well balanced in that way of like, it leads to an exciting ending where you're not sure you're going to win until you win. So it's like, however they got to that with the cards and the card play is really great. And all the different decks have different kind of feels. Like, so each box has 2 characters, 3 variants of 1 boss, and then the each change the thing. So I love playing the different boxes because like, well, this character plays very differently. Like I had one that wanted to get a bunch of discards because it triggers off the symbols on the discard. You had one that was like very rewarding for helping your partner and things like that. So, and then
sacrificing.
And then some monsters are like, we played one game where if there's multiple copies of that monster, they become a lot more powerful, but the reward becomes much greater. So there's just every game just feels very different, but it's very fast playing. It's very exciting. The biggest thing is like you're limited on cards. You don't get to draw cards whenever you want. When you do have to redraw, you might have to take an exhaustion, which feels really bad. Which
actually was why we lost the final boss fight.
So you have to be very careful about how you manage your cards. But yeah, this is a great game. I'm really glad. I don't think it wouldn't have been on our radar, but because Jane gave it to us, we're like, oh, let's try it. I'm like, oh, these are really good. And you were like, I forgot how good this game is.
I literally, that is like one, I don't know if that's a good thing or it's a bad thing, but like every time I play it, I'm like, oh man, I forgot how good this game is. Like this game is really great. It might be like a year in between plays for me. And I'm like, man, I should be playing this game more. If you like solo games too, it's also a great solo game. It works really well solo. So if you are a solo gamer, I recommend it for that as well.
Cool. So that's Kinfire Delve series.
Yeah. All right. The next one I'm bringing to the table here is a game called Timber Town from Alley Cat Games. This is a game that I feel like is one of those sort of, it's real chill. Like there is some strategy here, but like this would be one of my go-to recommendations for someone that's like, I want a game to play with my partner at the end of a long day. Like I had a long day. I don't want to like break my brain, but I also am not just trying to like
veg out.
Yeah, I'm not just trying to watch TV or something like that. I think this really fits that niche really well. Like there are interesting choices. There is some strategy here, but it's also like not that hard to wrap your head around. It is a tile laying game where you are drafting tiles and then building out your village. There's a lot of replayability because there's a number of cards and it's like, we're playing this set of cards and every red tile scores this way and every blue tile scores this way. And, those types of ways might be like, if you have this tile in your corners, it's worth that many points. Or this one scores points for every other color tile in the same column. But the way you're drafting tiles, if you ever played River Valley Glassworks, there was a fun thing about how the river was flowing and tiles were sort of moving. This does the same thing. There are these river tiles. You are playing as thematically beavers building your beaver town. And there are tiles. And when you grab a tile, there are tiles on these sort of moving tiles. Every tile has 3 tiles on it. I don't know how to describe that better. There's like pieces. There are board pieces with 3 tiles on them, and they flow to the end of the round, at the end of the river. And when you select a tile, you can only put it in the column in the tile that you have it
drafted from.
Yes, that you drafted from. So there's a tension of, ooh, that tile would be really good for me in my final column, but are you going to take it before it gets to that final column? Do I try to take it and burn one of my special abilities that can allow me to put it in a different place and stuff like that? So, it is chill. Just like, hey, I'm drafting a tile. I'm placing it in my town, and then I'm going to score points at the end of the game. But there's a little bit of fun tension on how do I get it into the column that I want it in? How do I get it into the place that scores maximum points for me? And the replayability in terms of, each color tile probably has 4 or 5 cards for it that score in different ways.
Right.
So like the base one, pretty simple, and then it can get more complicated from there if you want it to.
Cool.
So
Cozy.
Sounds cute.
yeah, it is.
I also think this game should be named Beavertown.
Yeah. It's true.
Beaverburg.
Yeah, but if you're looking for like a chill game just at the end of a long day, I think Timbertown is great for that.
All right.
Yeah.
And you get to go again.
Look at me.
Games.
I'm monopolizing this episode. This is another game that Shu and I played in our epic 2-player game day or days specifically. I don't remember if this was the first or the second one. But this is a very quick 2-player game. If you like 2-player card games, this is a game that plays in 20 minutes. Naishi, I think is how you say it. But it is a game where you have cards in your hand and you cannot move the cards in your hand. You also have cards in a row, it's called your line, that are out on the table, and you cannot move those without taking a special ability. You have tokens that can get you abilities to move stuff, but you are essentially just trying to arrange your hand and arrange the cards in your line, and when the game ends, we just lay everything down, and now you have a 10-card tableau of 5 cards in 2 different rows, and it's like, this card's going to score if it's in the corner. This card's going to score if it's next to this card. This card's going to score bonus points if you get it in the middle, like things like that. And so it's just the interesting tension of trying to get things into the right spots in your hand. And also, you don't know when the end of the game is going to trigger. Like a person can call the end of the game and you're like, no, I just needed 2 more turns to get this to the right spot, So I really like it for a quick card game, 2-player card game.
Yeah, I remember the first time when you taught it to me, it's like, okay, your 5 cards, do not rearrange them, right?
Yeah.
They're positioned that way. So the whole game is about like, when do I swap them? When do I put this down? Is this going to be great at the end of the game? And things like that. So I love that. That to me is the whole game, is this positioning part of this card game.
That was the part that was tough to wrap my head around in the beginning. It's like, ooh, I get it. But then, I made a mistake. Sort of like that sort of thing. But yeah, it's really pretty game. It's really quick game. But the figuring out of the puzzle of like, how do I get this exactly in this position before maybe Shu ends the game, or maybe I should rush to the end. And I did do that. I remember in one of our games and you were really upset with me. So that's a part of the game too. And I was like just grabbing these cards and doing some unexpected moves where you can grab something earlier than you think somebody else thinks you will, and that sort of puts them, on their heels, and they have to figure out how to get back from that. So
yeah, that was a game where after you showed it to me, I'm like, can I borrow this so I can show it to Christina, because I knew Christina would like it as well.
It's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Great little quick 2-player card game.
So that's Naishi.
Yeah, very puzzle. And so our last one is Zenith. So I just played this with you yesterday. I think Grant showed it to you originally too.
Grant showed it to me, yep.
And so it's very colorful and bright, but it is very much a strategy game where you played it and you're like, I really need to show this to Christina. And I'm glad you did, because it was very, very interesting. So you have these different planets that you're trying to get control over. You can win if you get 3 of the same color, or 4 different ones, or 5 period, right? So when you are, they're individual tugs of war between each of the planets. And so as you're playing cards, you're pushing the influence toward you, but you're also using these cards for their abilities on the bottom, or you spend them to increase technology, which is another way to take influence or to have these bigger powers, or grab this resource called Zenithium that will help you, get really powerful abilities. Or you can spend these cards to get the leadership token, which lets you draw more cards as you're going. So there's all these small decisions that you're making where you're trying to like surprise the opponent on these different lanes or these different planets to claim them before they can, essentially. And the card play was super interesting. I really, really liked it. When you play cards to a certain planet, it also gives you discounts for future plays too. And there's a lot of surprise
in that column.
And so there's a lot of little surprise things you can play to like mess with the other person.
Yeah, you could engine build that to be like, I just want a lot of cards to make future cards very cheap. But then there's also cards that take cards from your opponent and then making your cards cheaper, but theirs more expensive. But the tug of war gets really exciting. Like we had this moment of like, oh man, Christina has 3 different colors. She just needs a 4th different color. And I see the blue planet starting to inch towards her side of the board. I'm like, I have to mobilize and get that over. And then the technology board that you mentioned is like, that's another engine that you can build within the game, because there's like 3 different tracks of 5 levels each. But then when you move one up, they're expensive, but you trigger that new row that you just hit, plus every power below it in that same column. So those become really powerful too. So, when you show this to me, it is actually a 2 or 4 player game. You could play as teams. When Grant, when you first showed it to me, we played 2 players. I'm like, I don't know why you would play this 4 player, because you're just splitting. Instead of you having control of 5 lanes of planets, I do my left 2, my partner does the right 2, and we share the middle one. I'm like, it felt like the way I think of Star Wars Rebellion, which like they just really forced this in here. But I did play it at 4 players, and I'm like, oh, this is actually fun, because there's sometimes you're like, I'm going to give cards to my teammate. Then it allows them to trigger things like that. And then there's limited communication, but your team takes the turns at the same time or in the same round. So then it's like, Grant, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? And then we might help each other without saying too much about what we have.
So you liked it at 4 players, but would you prefer it at 2 or 4?
I'm happy with both, but I think overall, if I had to choose one, I'd pick a 2-player game. And that's why we included it, because this is, I think, the only game we have that's technically in one box, 2 or 4 player, and not just 2. All the other games in this 2 episode special are strictly 2-player games, or one or two player games. But this one you could technically play 4, which was better than I thought it'd be.
And it was interesting. Our friend Amanda Panda, we were just talking with her about this game, and she prefers it at 4. So
interesting.
I don't know, maybe if you play it more times that way. I thought that too. I played it only 2-player, and I was like, that seems dumb. Why would I want to split this up? And I want control of everything. But she says it's really fun that way. So
yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really like this game a lot as well. In the last 2-player game episode we did, we talked about Compile as a lane battle game. This really is a lane battle game at its heart, at its core. It's just more complex than most lane battle games. There are other things going on. There are these technology tracks you can move up and get special abilities. There are cool ways to discard cards and get other special abilities. So yes, there is the lane battle aspect where you're moving these sort of planets to your side or not, but there's also a lot of other stuff going on in the game. You know, one downside I would say is there's a lot of iconography in the game. Now, that being said, there's also a really good player aid. And so you can look up all of the things. All of that stuff is explained on your player aid. But your first few games, you are going to be looking at that player aid a lot. And just trying to figure out what all the symbology is. So just know that going in.
I agree. I love this game, and I actually have it, even though it could, like, we've played it enough. I could take it off our shelf of shame and file it away in our normal collection. But I'm still keeping it out. I'm like, I want more people to check this game out because it's just so fast. And it's really fun. I really, really enjoy this game. But I agree. Like, I made a huge mistake in teaching the 4-player game. I'm like, here's how the game works. There's too many icons for me to go over all of them. So I'll just let you look at the sheet. And then I was like, okay, that was a mistake, because they were just like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I realized I should have at least told them, because there's maybe 60, 70% of them are all in the same family.
Sure.
Like, once you know what this circle means or what this square means, now you're covered for 60, 70%. I should have went over those. So I did that with Christina, which made it much
very
easier.
Smooth teach. And
but you still had to look at the sheet a lot, because there's a whole bunch of other symbols.
But they all made sense with like a little bit of pre-teaching. And I think what you mentioned before about like, oh, like Compile, it's a lane battler, but I really love the feel of, like, I think Compile is like a very pure sort of lane battler. It was just, okay, this card's going to do these actions and let's see what number we get. But Zenith, I feel like, is a more whole game for me.
Sure, yeah.
Because of the ways that the cards interact, and also like it's not as punishing, so you feel like you could play around a little bit more, I think.
Yep.
So it felt like a more complete game to me, and that for me feels like, oh, this is what I like from like a bigger multiplayer game boiled down to 2 players, and I really enjoyed that.
Nice.
Yeah, all the games we brought for this 2-episode special, we like, obviously, like we wouldn't have mentioned them if we didn't like them, but this is probably my favorite of all the
interesting.
other 2-player games. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm really glad you shared this with me because I really love this one.
That's interesting. It did make my top 10 2-player games of the year, but it was towards the bottom of the top 10. So, but still very good. I like it a lot.
And your final
Yes,
game.
the final game of our 2-part 2-player special is the game Pillars of Fate. Last episode, last 2-player, part 1 of this 2-player series, I talked about Scales of Fate. This Pillars of Fate game felt a little bit sort of tacked on to that campaign. It was an extra game that they put in the Scales of Fate campaign. And it's not a tagged on game. This is a great game. And yes, it is a small box game, but it feels like I've talked to plenty of people that like this game more than they like Scales of Fate, even though it felt like sort of a game thrown onto that campaign. So don't overlook this one, is I guess what I'm saying. We've been talking about lane battle games, both with Zenith and Compile. This is also a lane battle game, but it does a really interesting twist on the genre. You are playing cards down into lanes. You can play some face up. You can play some face down. Those cards have strength values on them, much like a game like Compile. But cards also have symbols that can set the suit of the lane. And each lane, depending on which suit is played more, different things will happen with that lane. For instance, if we play a bunch of feathers on this lane, the middle token on that lane might say that if feathers win this, whoever has the most feathers scores 5 points. But if Scorpion wins this, whoever has the most scorpions loses 3 points.
Okay.
So you are playing cards both to win the, the strength of the lane, but also to set the suit of the lane. And I can do things where I'm like, ooh, Christina's going for that lane. So I'm actually going to try to change the suit of that lane, but hope you still have more power on it so that you win it, but lose points. And it adds a whole layer of sort of intrigue to the game, to the lane battle. You know, it's full of like, how do you outsmart this person? How do you think about what they're going for? How do you be more clever than your opponent? And I like that a lot. I like that sort of twist on the genre of lane battling.
Yeah, this was on our 2-player game marathon day. I was like, wow, you cannot just play cards like, I'm going to put a lot of points into this thing because the other person could just screw you over if you're not careful. So I really like that aspect because you have to really think about it and be careful, be cautious about how you play and have backup plans perhaps. And things like that. And there are also other cards that give you additional powers that might also change a few things. But the main game, I think that's like the main shining point of this game is the suits and then how one suit is great and the other one is usually bad. I think are they all that way?
Yeah, but it depends. Like this lane, maybe scorpions are really good on this lane, but this lane, feathers are really good. So you never know.
So if you had one card with a lot of scorpions, because there's different numbers of these to help you decide which suit's going to win, you have to make those decisions too. Like, oh, do I want to win scorpions here, or do I want Grant to lose with scorpions here?
I feel like there's just more layers to this strategy than most lane battle games. I think that's one of those. And it does also make it maybe a little bit more cutthroat than some other lane battle games, like you said, where you can really screw over your opponent. And so that's just something to know for your play style.
Yeah, it's not as like combo-y as Compile, like that has all the interesting dynamics between the different kind of cards. But the suit thing is just really cool. And I really like the art style. It's like this very simple. There's just a few colors. There's like a lot of black, gold, brown, which sounds terrible.
Great.
But it's
But
just
it's very stylish.
Very stylized, very cool art here.
Yeah.
So that's
Sweet.
Pillars of
Pillars
Fate.
of Fate. And then quick hits, like, these were all newish games that we were all playing for 2-player and everything, but we have some classics that we like to call out too, right?
Other new games
Other
that
newish
we didn't
games.
get to cover. That's like
Because we have covered them some fairly recently.
Yeah.
Like we talked about Tag Team, which was a really fun, combining fighters sort of game, but we've covered that in the past.
An auto battler. Yeah, we all like Tag Team, but we covered it enough. We didn't want to cover it again here. You showed me Yokohama Duel, which was
great.
I think similar to White Castle Duel in terms of how you describe White Castle Duel.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's a condensed 2-player version of Yokohama. Feels like the same game inspired by Yokohama, but just plays in 30 minutes.
Instead of a few hours.
Yeah.
We talked about Yomi 2, which in a previous episode, which is a very not different because it's Yomi 1's an older game, so it's like, what is it different from? But it's one of the deeper dueling card games based on fighting video games, right? Like Street Fighter style or Mortal Kombat style. It's like very much based in that world, but complex. Like when do you block? When do you throw? How do you combo and lead into other attacks? So that's a cool game as well.
I'm excited to play, Duel for Middle Earth, but the expansion where you're getting some allies to join in. I just glanced at the extra expansion cards. Haven't played it yet, but I really want to play that because that's one of my favorite 2-player games right now.
It's one of my favorite 2-player games of all time.
Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth, which replaces Seven Wonders Duel for all of us. Would you say? For me, it does.
I mean, Seven Wonders Duel has a lot of nostalgia for me just because that's one of the games that I played early on in getting into strategy games. But I don't think I'm going to get rid of Seven Wonders Duel for that nostalgia reason, but I do think Lord of the Rings Duel is the better game. And the theme makes it more accessible and also makes you connect with it more.
I think Lord of the Rings Duel is just so much smoother, and it's just sort of fun in it because you feel a little bit immersed in Middle Earth. I think Seven Wonders Duel is more strategic. If I really wanted to get really deep into playing strategy games with the same person, then we could have throw in those expansions, and I think that's where Seven Wonders Duel shines.
Yeah, I don't. It'd be hard to get rid of Seven Wonders Duel because it's like an all-time great. But I don't know if I would play it now because of Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth.
Yeah, I want to play that more. We still haven't gotten the expansion yet, so
Yeah, so that's it.
A lot of great 2-player games. Hope you're having fun playing with your partner or your kid or your friend or, a stranger. Just grab somebody off the street.
Yeah. You can get them into some of these games.
Or someone like Grant, who's none of those to me.
So thanks for listening, and thanks to Mike Zipkin, our fantastic editor, for editing this as usual. And check out Grant, of course, on Grant's Game Rex. He's got all of the games. He's played more than us all the time, so he's the expert. And now you can stop listening and go play a game.
Bye.
Bye.